Welcome to a journey of transformation. Every week, we explore new horizons, pushing boundaries and embracing what's next. This isn't just about technology, it's about evolving ourselves. Think of it as your weekly reset, a chance to upgrade your mindset, your skills, and your potential. We're here to help you rethink how you approach challenges, how you innovate, and ultimately, how you succeed. From powerful insights to practical strategies and game-changing knowledge, we tap into everything you need. It's about staying ahead, not just in a digital world, but in life itself, equipping you for every new beginning. Because in this fast-paced era, standing still is simply not an option. Growth is continuous. You either choose to evolve, to adapt, and to learn, or you risk being left behind. Embrace the change. This isn't just an update. It's a profound rebirth, a chance to redefine your future, to step into your power, and to truly thrive. It's about unlocking your next level. Join us on this exciting path. Embrace your new beginning. Your journey starts now.
Welcome to the Final Boss Podcast, Tech Tuesdays with me, the Sensei. The Sensei's in the building. Big Mike is in the building. Hey, man, we got a great show for you guys tonight, man. We got a great show for you. You know, we're always pulling back the curtain, right? We're always pulling back the curtain, and one of us is the lion, and the other one is the Tin Man. I let you guys figure that part out, right? So, look. Tonight's show, man. Tonight's show is going to be one of a lot of thought-provoking processes. And on top of that, man, we're going to come up with some solutions for you guys, right? We're going to come up with some solutions and make you think, because that's what we do here, right? On the Final Boss Podcast, man. So let's get right into tonight's show. And as you already know, the greeting of the day. Good morning. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That is the greeting of the day. And as always, this is for entertainment purposes only. It is for entertainment purposes only. And we got the Sensei, Big Mike is in the building. How you feeling, sir?
Oh, living a dream.
Living a dream. Always living the dream.
Every day.
Yes, sir.
I got the Hawaii shirt on. See,
I like the Hawaii shirt, man.
You put it back out into the environment. That's what we're putting out there.
Yeah,
the chill. We're doing a chill vibe today. That's right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm going with the clean white right now. You know, it is what it is. It is what it is. So tonight, man, you know, these are conversations that we've had offline, right? And we've decided to bring it full circle. And I hope you guys are out there, and I hope you enjoy the content that we're providing, right? So if you do, keep sharing, subscribing, share, subscribe the content. But on top of that, man, please don't gatekeep. Look, if you want to be on the show, send us an email at info@thefinalbosspodcast.com. But not only that, man, listen, for our town hall, if you have questions or you want to send your information in to be a part of the town hall, send that to us also on the email at info@thefinalbosspodcast.com. And if you haven't already, get Go Time All Aboard the Fired Up Train. Go get Go Time All Aboard the Fired Up Train. It is an Amazon bestseller. And Go Time 2, it's on its way. Go Time 2, it's on its way. It's dropping in July, which is around the corner. Man, 30 days out, man. Go Time 2 is dropping next month. Super excited about that project, man. And, you know, you have anything you want to say to the people before we get started, sir?
No, man, it's going to be a good subject tonight. Okay. You know, keep your mind open. Man. Tonight is going to be one of those ones where we're pulling the curtains back on the machine so we can actually see what this thing does and why, so we know how we can navigate these muddy waters.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And you know what? Let me go ahead and get rid of the banner so you guys can see our handsome faces. Boom, banners are out of here, right? So What if, right? Oh, let me give you the front matter. Tonight, episode number 257, season 4, arc 4. Season 4, the rebirth, arc 4, the construction, right? We're still in the construction, and soon we're being arc 5, which would be the declaration. And then from there, we are going to season 5, the harvest, which is around the corner at episode number 300, right? Episode number 300. So I had to give you guys that information, man. So prepare your minds for the information. Make sure you have pens, paper, and notes. There's a lot of notes. Yes, talking to you. Make sure you're taking some notes tonight, right? So, what if I told you? What if I told you that the most dangerous weapon ever built against black and brown people had no trigger? Think about it. Sit with it, right? Had no barrel. And it has no face. What if it just ran quietly in the background every time you apply for a job, walked into a hospital, or got pulled over by the police holding a tablet? Tonight, we're going to be naming it, right? We're going to break it open, and we're going to tell you exactly what to do about it. And think about this. That answer that you're looking for does not come until we're well into the conversation, right? So stay with us, man. Stay with us. This is the Final Boss Podcast, Tech Tuesdays, right? Tech Tuesdays. I am the Final Boss, and across from me is the Sensei, Big Mike, right? Who brings in the complex things that we make sense of together, right? And we're going to be building tonight, right? So grab your bricks, grab your concrete, right? Because we will be building, and it's not theorizing. We're not debating, and we're building an understanding so you can move sovereign. If you are new to the show, then you're here, and you're here because you're supposed to be here. And this is Tech Tuesdays, where the Final Boss community gets the real breakdown on what technology is actually doing to the world. There's no fluff here. There's no sales pitch, just truth for about 60 minutes. And we do that every Tuesday without fail at 9 p.m. live, right? Sometimes we have technical difficulties, but that's what Tech Tuesdays are for, because we hash those difficulties out, right? So to my smarts, to my motivators, to my warriors, to my final bosses, listen, smarts, I need you guys to think deep. Final bosses, you're the ones who are going to be building empires. Start to build. Motivators who carry the fire, and my warriors who hold the line. This one is for the entire community, all 4 of you guys, right? And before we get into the conversation, man, we're going to start with our brass tacks of the evening. The brass tacks comes from Dr. Joy Balawini, right? And here it is. If you train an algorithm on a flawed history, it will algorithmic justice league, man. Go check that out, right? And that's a great brass tacks, man. Brass tacks of the evening, right? So, Mike, before we get into the mechanics tonight, I want to set the table for our community. And I want them to know the reason why we're doing this, right? And the reason why we're doing this on this episode, because what the people don't know is that 90% of U.S. employers right now are using AI screening tools to sort job candidates. 90%. And that is not a future. That is today, right? We always say, not science fiction, it's sci now. And the question we're asking tonight is simple. Is that tool working for? Is that tool the same for everybody? What is your opening reading on where this problem actually lives technically?
So right now, I just want to make sure that people understand what we're actually talking about, because we always hear this word bias and it gets thrown around and it's just tossed here and there. But when we say bias in AI, okay, because it's a different thing. When we're talking about bias in AI, we're not talking about a programmer who sat down and coded hate into the system. That's not how it works. Okay? What we're talking about is a mathematical outcome.
Mm-hmm.
You feed a model data, that data reflects the world that built it.
Correct.
And the world that built it had unequally baked in every layer, inequalities in every layer. The bias is not the intent. That's not the intent. The intent is they do the program. It's in the inheritance. It's in the data.
The bias is not in the intent, people. You heard that, right? It is the inheritance, because that is the part people miss. Nobody has to be racist for a racist outcome to happen. The system just has to be trained on racist history. And guess what history this country has got plenty of? And unfortunately, this is our beautiful country, right?
I mean, exactly. All right. This is what makes AI dangerous at scale. A biased human hiring manager makes one bad call. That's it, just one. Once. A biased algorithm makes that same bad call 10 million times simultaneously. And no one sees it happening in real time because they're depending upon the machine.
That is the construction truth. That's the construction truth, right? The machine does not hate you, people, but I need you to hear this. It was just never built to see you. And when something can't see you accurately, it becomes a weapon by default. Final bosses, I need you to understand this is not a tech problem. This is a power problem wearing a tech suit. Now, I spent, I'm always spending, right? And this quarter is no different. Auditing AI platforms before deploying them anywhere near SatDiginet, right? Sensei and I have spent long nights breaking AI models on purpose just to see what would happen, right? And because I refuse to let a biased algorithm make decisions inside my business without me knowing exactly what it was trained on, that is the real cost of not trusting the default, right?
That's right. Every AI tool you're using right now has a racial outcome embedded in its baseline. I said the word baseline.
Mm-hmm.
The question is not whether it exists. The question is whether you know which direction it cuts. And
Correct.
what we're describing here is a real phenomenon in statistics. We're not talking about anything other than just numbers, machine learning, social psychology, and information theory. And it can be summarized as this. When enough people repeat the same falsehood, a system that relies on consensus may conclude that the truth is false. Now, to put it in clean terms, imagine if 100 people say the sky is green, and one person says the sky is blue. If an algorithm is designed to determine truth by counting votes, popularity, engagement, or agreement, it's going to conclude that 100 votes for green, 1 vote for blue, therefore, green is probably the correct algorithm. It's not determining the truth, okay? It's determining what most people believe or claim. And there's 3 things we're dealing with here. One is called the truth, what's actually real. The second is consensus. That's what most people will agree on. And the last one is confidence, how certain the system is. So the more consensus there is on something, it doesn't matter what it is, the more confidence the system's going to have saying that's true. It doesn't have to be true. It's what the system thinks is true. And it's going to tell you this is the truth. And these aren't
False
the same
positives.
thing. Right.
Yeah.
History is full of examples. Most people believe the Earth was the center of the universe. Most people believed ulcers were caused by stress. And most people believe that heavier objects fall faster than lighter ones. Now, in each of those 3 cases, the consensus was wrong. Why algorithms can get it wrong? Many modern systems learn patterns from large amounts of human-generated data. If the data set contains 10,000 repetitions of a false statement, 10 repetitions of a true statement, what's the system going to tell you? It's going to learn the false statement is the normal answer. And what this is called is a majority bias consensus or a bias information cascade. The illusion of truth effect. Now, what I'm really saying is this. Does truth come from reality or from agreement?
Ooh.
If a vote can determine who wins an election, which restaurant is most popular, that's agreement. A vote cannot determine the speed of light,
Right.
whether or not a historical event happened, or whether a statement is objectively true. Reality does not care how many people agree with it.
Yes.
One person with evidence can be correct, while a million people are wrong. And in today's world, guess what? The million people are going to be thought as right. The one person is going to be wrong. And that's why good science, good investigation, and good reasoning try to measure the truth against evidence rather than popularity. And here's the saying. If 100 people repeat a lie and one person tells the truth, democracy may choose the lie. Reality eventually chooses the truth.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. That's, ladies and gentlemen, is why he is the sensei. Right? Now, Sensei, let us start. Thank you for that, man. And you know, I want us to start with the one that most people have actually heard about, right? When it comes to what we're talking about, right? Let's talk about these elements. Let's talk about facial recognition, right? Because this is where it gets absolutely undeniable.
Right. So this is really interesting subject right here. Here's where we're going to get into some good meat and potatoes. So the MIT Media Lab found, and this has been replicated across multiple independent studies, it's not a one-off, commercial facial recognition systems, okay? This is the stuff that's out there in the world. This is not in the lab. This is already deployed in the world.
Right.
We're mistakenly misidentifying darker skinned individuals, listen to this one, particularly black women, at rates dramatically higher than white men. One system had an error rate of 0.8% for light-skinned men, 0.8. The same system had an error rate of 34.7% for dark-skinned women. And that's not a rounding error. That's not a small amount. That's a different system entirely for two different populations. And why is that? Because it's using the data that it understands.
And that's too close to 50%. 34.7%. Man. Wow. That's a lot. That's huge. Man, you know, let's translate this for the community, right? Because I see we have some questions, right? Look, what the sensei just said is this. If you're a light-skinned man, that system gets it right around 99.2 times out of 100, right? That's almost perfect. But if you're a dark-skinned black woman, it gets it wrong more than 1 of every 3 times. That's not a glitch, people. That, my friends, is a pattern.
And here's the thing. Again, we talked about this earlier. It's not that there's malicious intent in the programming. The technical reason is very straightforward. And this is the technical reason why this happens. It's just simple, the training data. If 80% of the images you train on a facial recognition model are white male faces, then the model becomes really, really good at recognizing white male faces. Every other face becomes a recognition of an approximation. That's what it sees. It's an approximation because it doesn't have enough accuracy. It's when facial recognition first started, it just wasn't good at all. But then it got better.
Right.
Same thing here. It's if it's not the norm, it's an approximation. This model fits into what it saw the most. If it sees more of one thing, it's going to get good at it. If it doesn't see something,
Yep.
it's going to get really bad at it because it just doesn't know.
And as a, to back your statement up as a testament, listen, if you're using Chat GPT to make these graphics or these flyers, ask it some questions about what it knows about you and have it create a graphic. Now, don't give them a description of who you are. Just say, hey, based on what you know of me, create a digital graphic, create a flyer, and watch what it creates, right?
That's going to be trippy.
That is going to be trippy, I'm trying to tell you. And look, here's where, do that. That's an experiment, man. Go do that. Here's where it becomes real life and not just a stat, right? Because in Detroit, Robert Williams, who's a police officer, showed up at this man's house in front of his wife and daughters and arrested him. A computer said, hey, he committed a theft. He had nothing to do with it. He told reporters a computer got it wrong, but the police listened to it anyway. How does this father explain to his daughters why daddy got arrested because an algorithm could not tell the difference?
Right? And this is the critical failure point, okay? And this is, we've talked about this when we talk about deploying AI too fast. Technology produced a result and humans treated it as truth. They didn't vet it. They didn't cross-check it. They just said, oh, it's efficient, it's fast, we're trusting it, go. And this problem compounds when you trust the output without understanding the error distribution. If you understood the error distribution, you would say, oh, I might need to take a look at this and verify before I move forward. Error rates for African men and women on facial recognition systems are exponentially higher than for lighter-skinned European populations. And this is across multiple documented studies. If you know that, then you should, as you're deploying this technology, take that into consideration.
Right. Correct. And look, people, smarts, founder bosses, warriors, motivators, and those who are just now joining us, listen, this is the rebirth, right? Because the rebirth is forcing us to ask a question that should have been asked before any of these systems went live. Who was in the room when they built this? My warriors, I need you to sit with that question. Because if the answer does not include people who look like you, the technology was never designed to protect you, right? It was never designed to protect you. Now, since facial recognition gets the headlines, but I want to talk about the one that is quietly selling opportunity every single day. Let's talk about hiring algorithms.
So as we depend more and more on the AI technology, as it gets more and more ingrained into our systems, companies naturally are moving towards utilizing it to weed out and get us the highest qualified candidates. And this is where the data gets sobering. A study analyzing over 3 million resume and job comparisons found that AI resume screening tools favor white associated names 85% of the time. That's just because, again, what data is built into the model? What does it see? And in direct hiring test, black male names were never chosen over white male names across all models tested. All models tested, not even once across every single model.
Did y'all hear that? He said never. Not sometimes, not occasionally, but never. And 90% of employers are running some version of this right now.
And the technical mechanism here is what researchers call proxy discrimination. Look, the algorithm is not explicitly filtering by race. It's not. That's not what's built in. It's filtering by variables that correlate with race. Zip codes, school names, any gap years, prior employment names. There's so many of these tiny little infinitesimal pieces of data. They're all tiny, But these systems put them all together, and they're called proxies. The algorithm learns that candidates with certain zip codes get hired less. Certain school names get flagged more. And because of residential segregation and historical inequity, these proxies map directly onto race without ever using the word. They don't even need to use the word because there's too many other data points. Okay. And if you have enough data points around, you have a picture. You create the outline. And that's what the system does. It sees all these data points and it creates a picture.
Man, you know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like elegant discrimination, right? Discrimination that can sit in front of a lawyer and say, I never use race as a factor. And it would be technically correct. But the outcome is identical. A Stanford study from this year found that 26% of Black applicants and 15% of Asian applicants applied to positions where the AI system discriminated against their racial group. That's not a bug, people. That is a design reflecting the data that it was fed, right?
And this is the hard part is what makes this really hard to deal with is that most companies are using the same few third-party vendors. So all it takes is one biased algorithm and it's running across thousands of employers simultaneously. The scale of the disparate impact is enormous and it's invisible because everyone says, I'm just using the model and the model's trained on the data. They're not even looking into it. They don't even, I don't think most of these companies even have any idea at all because what occurs is in HR departments, which are being decimated and AI is taking over HR departments rapidly, the system is making these decisions because the HR departments are so overwhelmed. All they do is tell the system, give me the best candidates. They don't even double check any of the results. They just say, give me the best candidates and boom. The system's doing it for them. So I don't think it's a malicious thing. I just think it is a fundamental problem that we have with the training data going into these systems has not been vetted.
And we've talked about this before. We talked about how these third-party AI systems will be sold to corporations and nobody is vetting what's being sold. The dots and the options are already filled in, and the IT manager and whoever, because of their lack of knowledge, is just, hey, thank you for the product. Oh, and then they spread it to the corporation. We got AI, everyone. Not knowing what's in the background or in the framework. Absolutely, man. Yep. And my smarts, y'all need to hear this clearly, right? Because racial bias in financial algorithms alone threatens up to $1.5 trillion in GDP potential. And that's not a social justice conversation. It's in isolation. This is an economic architecture conversation. When you systematically exclude Black and brown talent from economic participation, you hollow out the entire system. The construction arc truth is this. I build a sovereign future on a biased foundation, right? So, absolutely. Hey, Molly just dropped in. She had a great comment. She said, looks like the people behind AI's goals is to match human values. Very dangerous zone. Thank you for Molly. That is a brilliant statement. Thank you so much for that, right? Sensei, let's spend some time, man, in real time. Right? Real time on this right here, because this is where biases stops being unfair and starts being fatal. Talk to us.
So it's one thing when we talk about jobs and hiring. Okay, we understand that. We understand the impact. Let's go a little deeper. Let's talk about something else that can actually affect people's lives. A Cedars-Sinai study published in 2025. It tested 4 major large language models. Listen to this, for psychiatric treatment recommendations. Now, when the same case was presented with an African-American identity stated or implied versus no racial identity indicated, the AI systems recommended different treatments, different protocols. different medications based on race alone as the variable in the input. Think about that. Same exact clinical case. No race, output. Race, output. Completely different output based on that single variable as the input. Now imagine if we say, like the previous conversation we had, there is no specific input about race, but it proxies it, the same result's going to occur.
Right. Right. Man, that's something. That is something to think about, people. And y'all need to sit with that, right? Sit with that. And what we need you to understand is that same symptoms, same clinical picture. And a Black patient gets a different recommendation from the machine than a non-identified patient. And psychiatry, what's going on here, right? Where the wrong call can mean the wrong medication, the wrong dosage, the wrong outcome. Do you hear what we're saying, right? Do you hear what we're saying right now? I need you guys to really hear us, man. So,
and we're just peeling back the onion now, okay?
Yeah.
So as we talked about it, we're at the upper layer here. Now we peel back with his psychiatry because we understand where that goes. Now let's go a little deeper than this, okay? So now we're getting a little closer to home.
Okay.
This is not isolated to psychiatry. This is an onion with layers, okay? So we're looking at the layers. AI diagnostic tools for skin cancer, listen to this, have been documented as less accurate for patients with dark skin because the training data sets are not diverse. The model learned cancer presentations from predominantly lighter skin training images. And you say, well, how come that happens? Well, because that's where the data set was, okay? And what do? You do the easy thing first. What's the easy thing? Lighter skin, easier to see anomalies. Darker skin, hard to see anomalies. So they took the simple data set, used that, which trained it, and didn't train on the more complicated data set. So this is the problem. If your skin presentation does not match the training distribution, I mean, you can be in some generally dangerous territory because the system can say, you don't have cancer, you might have cancer. But if it doesn't identify early, and what do we say about cancer? You got to identify it early, right? If you have cancer and it can't identify because you have different melanoma, you have different skin tone, and it bypasses that completely and says, oh, you have no cancer, you might have a problem, a big problem.
And look, smarts, motivators, warriors, final bosses, those who are just now joining us, and this is the first time you've seen our show, I want that to sit with the community, right? Just for a second. Let's just sit with that. And think about this. We've all been to the hospital, right? Let's say you go to a hospital and a doctor is using an AI tool to assist with your diagnosis. That tool was not trained on people who look like you. It is making probability calculations based on a population that does not include you at full weight. And nobody in the room is going to tell you that.
No, they say we're using AI. It makes things better. That's what they're going to tell you. That's what they all are going to tell you. And here's the sad part about this. These researchers at Cedars-Sinai, they were very explicit. These systems should be deployed with caution and consideration. Guardrails. Remember, we talked about guardrails. We need guardrails.
Yep.
And the reason why you need these considerations for how even subtle racial characteristics affect their judgment. And this is a warning from inside the medical AI research community. This is not from outside. They built this system and they're raising a red flag themselves.
Yeah. That's true. And you know, the word they used was subtle. It's always subtle, right? Subtle racial characteristics, meaning the system does not need to see your face or know your name. It picks up signals and adjusts without your knowledge or your consent. Motivators, This is not the time to be comfortable. This is the time to ask hard questions every time you walk into a medical setting that is using AI tools in your care. And you have the right to know, right? You have the right to know. So, Sensei, tell us about the one that connects facial recognition to criminal justice directly. Let's talk about predictive policing.
So again, we've talked about this, that we have systems that we're pushing out there into not only corporations, but into governments. Okay.
Mhm.
And of course, it is all about doing more with less. So you have
Right.
more work getting done with less people. So therefore, you have to use the machine to help you.
Mhm.
So predictive policing tools. That's a tool that is being used by many police departments at all the levels. They're all using it because it just gets pushed out. They use historical crime data to allocate police resources. That means, where do you patrol? Who do you watch? And the technical issue here is direct. The historical data reflects over-policing of Black and brown communities. So, if you train on arrest data from a system that disproportionately arrested Black people for lower level offenses, then your model learns that Black neighborhoods and Black individuals have elevated crime probability. And then what happens? That immediately cascades and it feeds that signal back into policing decisions. Again, which
Mhm.
does what? Keeps that going and the ball is going. So what you do is you start out with something small and it can snowball.
Absolutely. And that's the real Minority Report. So the feedback loop is complete. The old system over policed Black communities that created a biased arrest record. You train an AI on that record, and the AI tells the new system where to focus. The new system over polices the same communities, which means more arrests, more data. The bias compounds with every cycle, right?
And this is what is called a feedback loop bias.
Mm.
The output of the bias system becomes the input for the next iteration. It's self-reinforcing. It's all it is. All it's doing is optimizing for the wrong thing. So it's not really paying attention to what's efficient.
Right.
It is, but it isn't. It's paying attention to what's efficient by numbers only. It's not taking into
Mhm.
consideration any other factors. And that's the problem. It builds on a few data points instead of enough data points.
Correct. And the ACLU has documented this extensively, right? Mugshot databases used for facial recognition sweeps are already contaminated by disproportionate arrest rates. Almost half of American adults have photos and facial recognition network used by law enforcement, and they did not consent to that. Most do not even know it. And error rates are highest for Black women between the ages of 18 to 30. And I wonder what that percentage is. The most surveyed population with the least accurate technology pointed direct at them.
Now, and let's look at this from the design perspective. Because again, we study the machine. We don't argue with the decorations. So when you hear these things, you start to get emotionally charged. Don't. Study the machine. If you get emotional about
The
this,
machine.
you're arguing with the decorations. Don't get emotional. Look at it from a systems design perspective. Because
Mhm.
if you want to fix this, you have to break the feedback loop. And that's not
True.
difficult. It means auditing training data before you build. It
Mhm.
means requiring demographic performance testing across all subcategories before deployment. Not just overall accuracy, but, and here we go, more data points. Accuracy by race, gender, and age bracket. Because the algorithm can be 95% accurate overall and still be 65% accurate for one specific demographic. The aggregate number hides disparity entirely. And this is just pure and simple audit the data to make sure that it's accurate with enough data points. If you don't have enough data points, I don't care what you have, it's not accurate enough.
And final bosses and warriors, the sovereignty question here is whether you are inside a system that is running this or whether you're building the frameworks that challenge it, right? That sounds interesting. Those are the two different power positions. And the construction is about moving from the first position to the second permanently, right? Permanently. So, thank you, Sensei. And Sensei, we've given these guys, we've given the community a lot of examples to think about, right? And I want to give our community a clear technical explanation on why this keeps happening. What's the root cause of it?
All right, there's 3 different causes at the technical level. The first, underrepresented training data, not enough data. If the data set used to train a model does not reflect the demographic diversity of the real world, the model underperforms for underrepresented groups. There's just not enough data. Not enough data, doesn't work. This is a data collection problem. That's it. That starts before a single line of code is even written. It's just not enough data collection.
And for those who need translation, simplest way I can say, garbage in, garbage out. And if the garbage has a racial distribution baked in from the start, every output inherits that problem. You cannot launder bias by running it through math.
No, because you don't have the data. You don't have enough data. You can't math it out. There's not enough data. The second is your proxy variables. And this is the one that gets a little more complicated, but it's really good. Models learn correlations, relationships. When race correlates with zip code, school quality, income, or name, due to historical segregation and systemic inequality, the model picks up these correlations and uses them even when race is not an explicit input. It's not even an input. You cannot remove race from a data set that reflects a racially stratified society by simply deleting the race column. Again, too many outlying factors point to the same result.
Exactly. Did y'all hear that? Deleting the race column does not fix it. It's not the problem. The history is already in every other column. That is the sophisticated trap organizations fall into when they think they're being fair. They perform fairness without achieving it.
Right. And here's the other one. After we go there, okay, we don't have enough data. Because we don't have enough data, we can't math it.
Right.
You take away the race column, doesn't help. And here's why. The evaluation metrics that mask the subgroup performance. A model gets tested, here, listen to this one. A model gets tested and achieves 92% accuracy. Everybody sounds, oh, we're good. Clap, clap, clap.
Right.
But if you don't break that number down by demographic subgroup, you will not see the model's 98% accurate for one population and 74% accurate for another. The aggregate metrics hide the inequality. You have to demand disaggregated evaluation data, which means separate the data out to find out are you accurate here and here. That gives you overall accuracy. If you're accurate here, not accurate here, you might think you're accurate overall, but you're not accurate.
Another false positive. And you just said something, man, that was very profound. This aggregated evaluation. Let's sit with that, people. Because my smarts, I want y'all to write that down, right? When someone is selling you an AI tool and they quote you on an overall accuracy number, your next question is, what is the accuracy by demographic subgroup? If they cannot answer that the tool has not been properly evaluated, That is not a negotiation tactic. That is a basic quality standard. Any organization deploying AI tools across diverse populations without subgroup performance data is flying blind and calling it progress, right? Look, smarts, find the bosses, warriors, find the boss, motivators. Listen, I don't want our community leaving tonight thinking this is hopeless, because that's not what we're saying, right? Sensei, who's doing the work?
Okay, so you spoke about this during the brass tacks. Dr. Joy Balamwini at MIT founded an algorithmic justice league specifically to hold these systems accountable. Listen to this. Her research cracked the facial recognition bias open publicly in 2018. And what happened is by doing that, it forced Microsoft, IBM, and Amazon to recognize that problem. That work has influenced legislation and corporate auditing frameworks across the entire industry. Already started happening because this one person was doing this work.
Balamwini coined the phrase gaze. The idea that the algorithms we build people who built them and the data that trained them. She said it plainly. If you train an algorithm on a flawed history, it will replicate those injustices. That is not rhetoric. That is a technical verdict from someone who ran those experiments.
And because of those experiments, we have the regulatory side with this real movement. South Korea has enacted a comprehensive AI Framework Act effective in January 2026, this year, that mandates fairness and non-discrimination across all AI systems, especially in healthcare and public services. Japan passed its first AI-specific law in May of 2025, and here's what they did, which is super important. They're requiring fairness audits and avoidance of biased training data because they don't want to have the inherent problems down the road. So they said, hey, we're going to have audits right in the beginning. And in U.S. courts have already ruled that AI vendors can be held liable under Title VII as agents of employers. There is no software exception. People are being held to the fire to keep these AI models accurate.
No software exception. If your AI hiring tool discriminates, you are liable. Not the software. You. And that is a shift in legal architecture that changes the business calculation overnight. Final boss, you cannot outsource your bias's liability to a third-party vendor. The courts have answered that question. Be careful. You will be liable. Right.
Well,
yeah.
Look, responsible AI is becoming the real market, okay? And the word here is responsible AI. That platform space is projected to grow from 2.2 billion in 2024 to 8.8 billion by 2029. The business case for bias mitigation is no longer just ethical. It is now financial and legal simultaneously.
And that, my friends, is the construction. And the construction is not passive, right? People are building the tools, the laws, and the frameworks to push back right now. And they're doing it in real time, right? My community needs to know those builders by name, support that work, and position themselves inside the movement. The arena is open. The question is whether you are watching or are you building, right? That's the question. So, Sensei. No, Chikandi just brought up a great point, and I think we're going to address it later on. Doesn't that take away accountability in hiring? We're going to answer that.
Well, we'll answer that. Accountability in hiring, you can't blame the tool.
That's it.
You can't blame the tool. You can't say, well, the tool did it. The computer did. Everybody always say, I can't work today because the computer's down. The computer did it. The computer broke it. Everybody wants to
Right.
throw the blame at the computer. That is not going to be the case.
You will be held liable. I said that to the companies using that or deploying it. So Sensei, I want to spend some time on something that tells me the larger world is finally starting to pay attention. Right? AI risk has jumped to the number 2 position in the Allen's Risk Barometer, up from number 10 in 2025. The larger year-over-year jump in the survey's history. What's driving it?
Now think about this. This is what people are basing their risk insurance on, is this risk barometer. You say, what am I at risk? Then I have to be insured against that. I have regulations which are going to protect it. So for example, if you have credit cards, use what's called PCI compliance. If there's a high risk and something moves up the food chain, then you have to address that at a higher level because it has more weight. And it's going to be a lot is going to be tied into that because organizations are seeing that AI is no longer experimental. We have talked about this. The machine is being built. Okay?
Right.
It is now being built. It is not experimental anymore. It's not in a lab. It's embedded in hiring, lending, healthcare, insurance, and law enforcement simultaneously. When a single flawed algorithm runs across 90% of employers in a hiring cycle, the systemic risk profile is enormous. Now, the alliance jump in that barometer reflects institutional recognition that AI failures are not isolated incidents anymore. Think about that. It's not isolated instances. They are saying it is a problem with enterprise level consequences.
And organizations listed AI governance and compliance as their most urgent ESG, right? Related technology. That's a priority for them in 2026. The governance piece is exactly where biases lives. Companies are being forced to treat AI fairness as governance obligation, not a voluntary initiative.
And here's why this risk framing that alliance barometer matters so much, because it changes who's in the conversation. Now, when it's AI bias is a civil rights situation, well, then we can say it stays in one lane. That's it. But when it becomes a top 2 enterprise risk, that's totally different because it pulls in legal, finance. Now we have the board involved, board governance,
Right.
and insurance simultaneously. Because if your company's at risk because you're not paying attention to your AI model, your insurance is going to go up.
Absolutely.
And that changes the leverage available to people demanding accountability. Because if you're in one lane, you can get pushed off to the side. But when you talk about something that's going to affect everything, people are going, the bosses, the decision makers, they're going to listen. They have to. The risk is too great if they don't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, final bosses, I need you to hear this right now, right? Listen to what I'm about to say. Organizations are scrambling to build AI governance frameworks that actually work. People who understand both the technical layer and the equity layer are the rarest combination in the entire market. 55% of both US adults and AI experts are highly concerned about biases in AI decisions, according to Pew Research, right? The demand for real solutions is there. The question is, who is building them?
Now, from your technical standpoint, a functionally responsible AI framework has to include bias auditing before deployment, but not just that. It also has to have continuous monitoring post-deployment after it's already pushed out, and mandatory subgroup performance reporting. Any framework missing those 3 elements, it's decorative. It's not fully functional. It's incomplete. And if it's incomplete, it's a risk.
Decorative governance is not governance, people. It's theater, right? The construction does not build theater. It builds infrastructure. Smarts, every organization you engage going forward, you need to ask about their AI governance stack, right? If they cannot speak to subgroup performance evaluations, you know exactly what room you're walking into. So be careful, right? Be careful. Now, I want to bring this home to something we've been building on this show, right? For a very long time, right? And I call it the 6 C's framework. Because when you hear everything Sensei has laid out tonight, the 6 C's give you a practical lens to evaluate any AI system you encounter in your life or your business. Sensei, let's walk us through how much or how each map is done for this problem.
Okay, so I'll cover the 6 C's. Okay, the first is character. Does the system operate consistently across all demographic populations? Not on average, not the aggregate, across all groups. Does a hiring algorithm that never selects a black male candidate over a white candidate in a controlled testing environment has failed the character because it never touched a real applicant? Not sometimes, never. So that's, you have to watch that one. The next one, communication. How does the system explain its decisions? We talked about the black box parity. We talked about the black box system and the phenomenon that these guys building, these people building these AI systems don't know what it does. Can it surface the variables it weighed? Can it tell you why a candidate ranked lower or a patient received a different recommendation? If you can't see it, there's a red flag. Right. Yep. If a system can't communicate why, then it can't be held accountable. So that's your communication. Number 3, your content. What data was the system trained on? Who was represented? What was it missing? You go upstream to the training set. That's where it starts. It's not the software, it's the training set. If the vendor can't tell you the demographic composition of the training data, then that content layer has never been evaluated. Right. And that's your answer. The next one's your community. Who does the system serve and who's it harm? Disaggregated performance data answers the question directly. A system that performs 98% for one group, 74% for another, it's not neutral. That's not neutral.
Yeah.
That's extractive. Full stop right there. That's not good enough.
Right.
Consistency. Look, and it has to be the same for everybody, otherwise it's not fair, right? I don't care what your demographic group is. If it's not equal across the board, then it's not equal.
True.
And nobody's asking for it to be weighted the other direction. It's just, it needs to be equal. And if it's equal, it needs to be consistent. Does the system perform across the same related trials with equivalent inputs across different demographic groups? If it's consistent, good. If it's inconsistent, now you have to go look backwards at the data sets and everything else to get consistent. Right. Because if it's not consistent, that's where the hidden biases are, that's where the proxy biases are, and that's going to cause damage over time because it's going to self-reinforce itself.
Yeah.
If you don't stop it earlier, it becomes a bigger problem later.
True.
Now, the last one is capability. What can a system actually do? Can it do what it claims it can do equitably across the full population it touches? The capability without equity is not full capability. That again, it's my left leg is strong, my right leg is weak. I'm overall weak. A facial recognition system that fails 1 in 3 black women is not a capable system. It's not capable to be deployed in a diverse world. It's a partial system with a full price tag, and it's that way because it's fast. They got it out fast. They pushed it fast. They say it's good, and they believe the salesman. What I value about a framework is that every decision is testable. This is not philosophy, okay? These are audit criteria. You can run empirical tests against every one of these dimensions before you ever sign a contract or allow a tool into your organization. And if you don't do that, what happens? You're getting a half-baked product, which is going to give you half-baked results.
Yep. And Dave Chappelle starred in that movie, right? And listen, people, that's the point. The 6 C's are not value statement. They are an evaluation standard. Look, my smarts, founder bosses, motivators, and warriors. The next time someone puts an AI power tool in front of you, run those 6 questions before you say yes. Character, communication, content, community, consistency, capability. If any of the 6 come back empty, you have your answer before you even deploy anything, right? And look, we're getting close to close. So before we close, right? Before we close, you know, I was thinking, right? We've dropped a lot of gems, given out a lot of breadcrumbs tonight. Um, there's no doubt that we're going to revisit this topic again because there's more information that we want to um, convey to you guys, right? We're going to go even deeper next time, right? So right now we're just really touching the surface, man. But we're going to come back to this topic and we're going to go even deeper, right? So Sensei, I need you to give the community the technical roadmap, right? What's your technical verdict? Not the problem reinstatement, but the actual solution architecture. What does fixing this actually look like at this level on a technical level?
Okay, there's 5 things. First, diverse and representative training data. We talked about that. We beat on that. We are on that like crazy. You cannot build a system that works for everyone from data that excludes or underrepresents significant populations. This starts at data collection. Before any modeling training begins, it requires intentional sourcing, demographic auditing of data sets, and willingness to invest in filling the gaps that the default internet data doesn't cover. Because we talked about that very beginning about the 101. You have to have accurate data.
You have to have it. You have to have it because the default internet data already reflects who had access, who was represented, and whose experiences are documented. That default is not neutral.
No, it's just weighted on volume. It's just volume. That's all it is.
Yeah.
The second, disaggregated evaluation before deployment. Overall accuracy metrics are not sufficient. You test performance by race, gender, age, and intersectional combinations. You don't deploy until every subgroup clears a meaningful performance threshold, not just the overall average. Because if you only depend on the overall average, you're only going to get accurate in one part and you're going to miss the rest. And it's all about, if you're going to be equal and fair, you need to be equal across the board. The third one is going to be continuous monitoring post-deployment. Bias can emerge over time as the real-world data patterns shift. You build monitoring infrastructure that tracks outcomes by demographic groups on an ongoing basis and triggers review when disparities appear. So when something flags it, oh, that's outside of the norm, you need to go look and find out why.
Yep, that's right. Monitoring as the SOP, people. Right, not a one-time audit at the launch, at the launch, but and then the mindset of trust the machine going forward. That's not how you do it.
No, you can't trust it. I mean, if you're going to trust it to deploy it, you need to continually have a reinforcement of the trust.
Absolutely.
Fourth is your transparency and explainability requirements. Systems making high-stakes decisions about employment, healthcare, lending, criminal justice, okay? These systems need to be able to explain their outputs. We've talked about this again and again and again. The black box models. This is the problem. The people who design this don't know how it makes decisions. In these high-stakes domains, that's a governance failure. And fifth, the last one, diverse development teams. Not as a cultural value statement, but as a technical quality control requirement. Teams with varied backgrounds catch the failure modes and edge cases that the homogeneous teams consistently miss. And here's why. If we're all looking at the same thing from the same perspective, and we don't have another voice from another perspective, we're going to miss things.
5 things. Representative data, disaggregated evaluation, continuous monitoring, explainability, diverse teams. Smarts, that is your framework for evaluating any organization claiming to build AI. Ask them directly where they stand on all 5. The answers will tell you all that you need to know. It's going to tell you everything, right? And as we close, people, Sensei, I want you to give the last word technically tonight, right? Bring it on home for us.
All right. Technology is not the enemy. biased technology without accountability that's deployed, that's the enemy.
Right.
Every problem we talk about tonight has a known technical solution. It's zeros and ones. It's not rocket science. If you have diverse training data, if you subgroup performance testing is there, you got feedback loop interruption, explainable outputs and continuous monitoring, then you have solutions. The solutions exist because those different pieces of the puzzle will reveal to you the solution. What has been missing is the will to require them, the governance structures to enforce them, and the voices in the room to demand them before deployment. That's a human problem. It's not a math problem. Everyone wants the fast, easy, cheap, get it done, deploy it solution. That's what they're searching for. They're not searching for an accurate solution. They're not saying, let's have guardrails which keep us safe. They're just saying, do it. We're going to invest all of our money in the fast engine, and we're not going to care about tires and brakes.
Right.
We're going to go fast straight, but God forbid we hit the first curve.
And that's exactly where this community lives at, man. Right there, right at that intersection of human accountability and technical reality. And let me land this for the four communities, right? Let me land this right quick, right? Smarts. You have the technical vocabulary to ask the right questions in any room where AI decisions are being made. I need you guys to use it. I need you to demand disaggregated data. Reject aggregate metrics as the only measure of fairness. And to my final bosses, the responsible AI market is $9 billion in opportunity. It's going to be that way up into 2029. The people who understand this problem from inside out are the ones who build the solutions in the market going forward. Position yourself now, right? And to my motivators, this is not a moment for despair. This is a moment for informed action. The legal framework is moving. The research community is naming the problem. The regulatory architecture is being built. Your job is to stay informed, stay vocal, and stay in the fight, right? And my warriors, you are navigating systems built on biased foundations every single day. Know it, document it, demand it, and demand it better. And the build will happen. And you could build your world, you know it's possible because the one running right now was not built with you in mind. Listen, the machine does not hate you. It was just never built to see you. The construction says that this is exactly why we do building ourselves. We build parallel, right? This is Tech Tuesdays. I am the final boss. He is Big Mike the Sensei. And he is the SME, subject matter expert. And this has been season 4, the rebirth arc for the construction, episode number 257. And we will see you again next week, same time, same channel, next Tuesday, 9 p.m. live. Wait, we good for next week?
I'm good for next week. You good for next week?
I might be good for next week, but we will find out. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show for tonight. And as always, if I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us, man. Like, share, subscribe. Don't gatekeep the information. Final Boss Podcast. And as always, there's a heavy pain that comes with discipline, but there's an even heavier pain that comes with regret. I am here. We are here. And as always, be balanced, be equal, and be smart. Sensei, you have any words?
Stay alert, stay alive.
Stay alert, stay alive, people. That's our show for tonight, man. Y'all have a great one. We will see you again next week. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for Merger Wednesdays. For Merger Wednesdays, 9 p.m. tomorrow. See you then.
Welcome to Tech Tuesday on the Final Boss Podcast, where innovation meets attitude, and the future gets decoded one bite at a time. I'm your host, Turbo the CEO, and your co-host, Mike Foth. And today we're diving deep into the tech trenches to uncover the tools, trends, and truths shaping tomorrow. Whether you're a code slinger, gadget geek, or just tech curious, this is your weekly power-up. So grab your controller, plug in, and let's level up.